In a shocking display of disregard for the law and basic human decency, President Trump has publicly admitted that he has the power to return wrongly deported Maryland resident Kilmar Ábrego García from El Salvador, but refuses to do so. This stunning admission came despite a clear ruling from the Supreme Court mandating the Trump administration to facilitate Garcia's return to the United States. Trump's justification for this blatant disregard for the law? He has labeled Garcia an MS-13 gang member, a claim vehemently denied by Garcia, his wife, and even a federal judge. This case is not just about one man's wrongful deportation, it strikes at the very heart of American justice and the rule of law. Trump's actions paint a chilling picture of executive power run amok, where the whims of one man supersede the decrees of the highest court in the land. The president's decision to disregard the Supreme Court's ruling is nothing short of a constitutional crisis, setting a dangerous precedent for future administrations. Trump's assertion that Garcia is an MS-13 gang member is based on flimsy evidence, relying heavily on the interpretation of his tattoos. This simplistic and prejudicial view ignores the complexities of Salvadoran culture, and the fact that tattoos are often a form of cultural expression, not necessarily indicative of gang affiliation. Experts have cast serious doubt on the validity of using tattoos as sole evidence of gang membership. Yet Trump continues to cling to this narrative in an attempt to justify his refusal to right a wrong. This case has far-reaching implications, calling into question the Trump administration's commitment to justice and due process. By refusing to comply with the Supreme Court's ruling, Trump is effectively placing himself above the law, sending a clear message that he is not beholden to the very institutions he swore to uphold. This blatant disregard for the law sets a dangerous precedent and further erodes the public's trust in the government. The Trump administration's handling of the Abrego Garcia case has been a masterclass in contradiction and obfuscation. Trump and his aides have repeatedly claimed that the U.S. lacks the authority to return Garcia because he is in El Salvador's custody. This argument, however, crumbles under the weight of the Supreme Court's ruling, which explicitly states that the administration must take steps to ensure Garcia's return. Adding to the chaos, the judge overseeing the case has accused the Trump administration of acting in bad faith and intentionally withholding information. This accusation, if proven true, would further expose the administration's willingness to manipulate the legal system to achieve its desired outcome, regardless of the human cost. The judge's accusations paint a disturbing picture of an administration more concerned with pushing a political agenda than upholding the law. The contradictions don't end there. Trump's own words betray his administration's shifting stance on the case. His recent statement acknowledging his ability to secure Garcia's return directly contradicts his previous claims of powerlessness. This inconsistency further undermines the administration's credibility and raises serious questions about their motives in this case. The Abrego Garcia case has become a microcosm of the Trump administration's chaotic and often contradictory approach to governance. It highlights a dangerous disregard for the rule of law and a willingness to manipulate facts to fit a predetermined narrative. This is not how justice is supposed to work in a democracy. El Salvador's refusal to release Garcia, with President Nayib Bukele labeling him a terrorist, adds another layer of complexity to this already convoluted case. While Bukele's stance initially appears to complicate matters, it also serves as a convenient shield for the Trump administration, allowing them to deflect responsibility for Garcia's continued exile. The Trump administration has been quick to seize on Bukele's refusal, using it as further justification for their inaction. However, this argument ignores the reality of international relations and the power dynamics at play. The United States wields significant influence over El Salvador, particularly on matters of immigration and security. It is highly unlikely that Bukele would risk jeopardizing his country's relationship with the U.S. by outright defying a direct request for Garcia's return. The Trump administration's reliance on El Salvador's stance reeks of hypocrisy. The administration has repeatedly shown a willingness to strong-arm other countries into complying with its demands, often through threats and economic pressure. Yet, in this case, they seem content to hide behind Bukele's rhetoric, abdicating their responsibility to bring a wrongly deported American resident home. The reality is that the Trump administration has numerous tools at its disposal to pressure El Salvador into releasing Garcia. They could, for instance, threaten to withhold aid or impose sanctions. However, they have chosen not to do so, suggesting that their true priority lies not in securing Garcia's return, but in maintaining the narrative that he is a dangerous criminal who poses a threat to the United States. Kilmar Ábrego Garcia's story is not merely a case of bureaucratic incompetence or political maneuvering. It is a stark reminder of the human cost of the Trump administration's cruel and inhumane immigration policies. Garcia, who entered the U.S. illegally around 2011, was initially granted protection from deportation in 2019 due to credible threats against his family in El Salvador. A judge ruled that deporting Garcia would be akin to sending him back to a dangerous and potentially deadly situation. However, in a shocking display of disregard for this ruling, Garcia was detained in March 2025 and swiftly deported, the victim of a bureaucratic error that ignored his previous grant of protection. This callous disregard for his safety and well-being is a stain on the conscience of the Trump administration. This case sets a chilling precedent, signaling to immigrants across the country that their lives, their safety, and their rights are expendable in the face of the Trump administration's relentless pursuit of its anti-immigrant agenda. The message is clear: even those who play by the rules, who seek legal recourse, and who are granted protection by the courts, are not safe from this administration's cruel and capricious whims. The Trump administration's handling of the Abrego Garcia case is a travesty of justice, a testament to the administration's willingness to disregard the law, manipulate facts, and endanger lives in pursuit of its political agenda. This is not simply a case of one man's wrongful deportation. It is a harbinger of a future where the rule of law is eroded and the rights of the vulnerable are trampled upon. This is not the America we should strive to be.